So beyond the breach response, beyond the credit monitoring, beyond the call center, somehow, some way, some CEO is going to have to get into a microphone and talk to the customers and talk to the shareholders and explain what's happened and explain what they're going to do, and likely continue to explain that. And that can't be always an attorney writing a breach letter. That's got to be somebody that knows how to communicate. Thanks.
So you may be asking, why do we have a lawyer on this panel talking about PR issues? It's a damn good question. Two, as my colleague points out. Well, if we're doing our job, these are issues that we need to be talking about with clients, both on the front end as we're talking proactively and planning, and you're going to hear more about planning later in this session. Obviously, when there's a breach, one of the first things we talk to folks about is who's your PR firm? And we often get blank stares about, why do we need our PR firm? Well, you're going to realize pretty quick why you need your PR firm. But beyond that, we also want to know, does that PR firm have actually any experience in this area? Because, of course, we've seen horror stories, and we've lived them, where we've had a PR firm that is not familiar with data breach and data privacy. And what happens, of course, is they take their usual track, and the situation gets worse than what it was when they started. We also, of course, deal with this when we're involved on the litigation end. We deal with the valuation of reputational harm. On the surface, I think some folks look at this and figure this is a pretty straightforward and simple issue. You have a breach, there's damage or harm to the company, but as you're going to hear, as you peel that back, it's like an onion. And there's a number of things that need to be taken into consideration as we advise our clients from the legal perspective, and things that they need to be concerned about as they go through that process, and especially on the front end, being proactive. First, kind of the easy part, understanding obviously that whenever there's a breach, there's going to be some damage to a company's reputation. And as we sat and talked this morning, that can vary greatly. We talked a little bit about Sony. Well, I can assure you that the kids that I talked to after that breach didn't really care about their parents' credit card. All they wanted to know is, when is Call of Duty 4 coming out? And they made their parents wait in line and buy it. Now, obviously, there was an impact to the organization and the stock value in the short run, but from the consuming public, they continued to consume that product, and it didn't affect them at all. Now, conversely, as we talked this morning, I represent a number of accounting firms. To them, reputational harm is everything. I've had many managing partners of accounting firms say, I don't care what it costs. Keep this out of the public light. This can never see the light of day. We don't care what it costs. Blank check. Make it, hide it, make it go away. Well, we all know there's only so much you can do to hide it and make it go away, but obviously from an accounting firm's perspective, reputation is everything. What about stock value for public companies? And that's easy, that's public. We see that in the press. But we talked more about middle market. We spent a lot of time in middle market. And when you look at the middle market, and I talk to my partners that do a lot of mergers and acquisitions, it's interesting because now in their due diligence checklists, one of the things that we've worked with them is to have the appropriate questions to go through and ask about data breaches. If a company is a target, we want to know, what issues have they had? What have they done proactively? What issues are lying in the weeds that we need to be worried about, that when we've closed that deal and all of a sudden there's a breach and we take a hit and the company's worth 30% less, we need to know that on the front end, because obviously that's going to impact negotiations and purchase price. Conversely, when we're working with our clients and they may be in a potential sales mode, we want to encourage them, take those proactive steps. Sit down, do a little self-audit of these issues. Make sure that you can put yourself in the best position to increase the value of your organization. Do you have insurance coverage to take care of this if it arises? If you don't, talk to one of the professionals. Make sure that you've actually done it ahead of time so that you can maximize the value of your company. And of course, during this planning process, a big part of it is the PR piece. Because the last thing we all know we want to be doing at 2 in the morning when we get that phone call is scrambling, trying to figure out, what's the game plan? No, it's behind glass. Okay, you break the glass, you pull out the plan, you implement the plan. You do it ahead of time. If you don't do it ahead of time, we all know that it's going to be a problem.